Alright, Pretender here, and today I'm back with another Honkai Star tier list video, and so, Prydwen tier list. So, taking a look at it, the recent update of the Memory of Chaos actual tier list update has left a lot of people actually just losing their minds of the changes and don't disagree with it, hate it. It might be the most insane tier list they've made yet. And so today I want to be looking at it, giving my thoughts on it, seeing their reasonings, and going forward from there. So a big disclaimer that I always gotta have with tier list video is every tier list is subjective. Not everyone is going to agree on places of characters. Not everyone is going to agree with the best DPS is. Not everyone's going to agree with the best support is. Not everyone is gonna agree with the best sustain is, even though that's crazy to me, but you know, I will not speak. But yeah, tier lists are subjective. Not everyone is going to have the same opinion. So take every tier list with a grain of salt. But the reason I'm covering Prydwens is because this is like the biggest tier list that anyone has in the Star Rail community. This is what most people will use, most people go to, most people check out, most people check what the updates are. So that's why I wanted to cover this one, especially with this one being kind of insane. I definitely want to check it out. So before I get into the video, drop a like, drop a sub, hit the bell icon for more videos like this, and let's get straight into it. So once again, this is going to be an MOC tier list update because these are not like updated for the recent ones and they're kind of older because I think Apocalyptic Shadows was a reset, so this will get updated soon. But the MOC is the recent update one and this is the updated tier list. So that's the one we're going to be looking at. So if we scroll down here, addressing the elephant in the room. So as we see, tier 0 is the best of the best in this current MOC. So as we see, Feixiao, Firefly, Robin, Ruanmei, Aventurine, Whoa. We can see a very notable face missing on this tier 0. Yes, Acheron has been demoted to 0.5, which has left people absolutely going insane. And I have my thoughts about this, but first let's actually go ahead and take a look at what their reasoning is. So obviously it's the first one listed, so despite the release of Jiaoqiu, who made Acheron better, when comparing Acheron teams to Feixiao teams, she falls a bit short. They're clearing up that she is not weak, but Feixiao has proven that she's on another level. Not just one, but multiple teams, allowing her to clear MOC stages effortlessly, even without her best support Robin. You can just use Bronya. If you don't have Topaz, you can use Bows or Hunt March. Acheron also has options, but those are not as potent as Feixiao. On the top end, her best team alongside Jiaoqiu can't reach the heights that Feixiao can on the lower end. And on the lower end, Feixiao still presses the advantage. Okay, my bad. In the future, when or if Acheron receives more teammates, we can feel her team ceiling and floor can increase. But currently, Feixiao has won the battle of supremacy and will be the sole tier 0 for now. So again, this is for MOC. So I'm going to say that I do understand this, is what I'm going to say. A lot of things that are not said about Acheron is, I'm pretty sure this tier list looks at the actual characters that are 5 stars at E0, S0. If we take a look at the S0s in this thing, Feixiao has great light cone options you can use. Firefly has really good options, you could just use the free-to-play Herda one as well. Robin, Ruanmei, you do not need their signature light cones. Aventurine and Ho, again, all these characters don't necessarily need their signature light cone. But a thing that I think people just don't say, and I'm just gonna say it, I know I might get hate for it, but I'm just gonna say it. Acheron, without her light cone, is not that good. She's not terrible, but she is nowhere near good as what she is usually placed to be. A lot of people end up pairing her as E0 S1. People don't look at the fact of E0 S0. There is a reason her light code increases her performance so much. It gives her access to a debuff, more ways to get the actual ult, faster ways to get it I should say, more increases to the damage she does by a good amount. And that light code is very much wanted. It's not going to be needed, but her performance drops drastically. E0 S1 is when she is contributed to be the top DPS of the game. That is my view on it. So I'm pretty sure this is looking at E0 S0 and then the team varieties you have. Firefly, her team is pretty damn free to play, so you can see it up here. And then these are just the supports, so if you have them, then they'd be ranked. And then these are the sustains, if you have them, they'd be ranked. But DPS wise, you have to account for the entire team. You could say the same with these guys, but I guess on their own, practically these two being good on every team. Firefly, her team, you practically always will have it, besides the rare cases you don't have Ruanmei. And then these two, I guess you could say if you don't have the respective teams, but they're also just practically good on every team as well. And then another thing to look at is the current MOC battles. So the current MOC battle is against that trio mech thing that we fought on the whole Sunday arc. I don't actually remember the name. The theater things, those cringe guys. And then the second half is Hule. Acheron does not perform as well as either Feixiao or Firefly when it comes to actual damage. Firefly absolutely trivializes the first half, while Feixiao absolutely trivializes Hule boss. Acheron can't do too well on Hule, especially with how much times they attack. You usually have to have the sustain or a counter unit deal with that. Still can clear it, obviously, because tier 0.5 is not to be scoffed at. Tier 0.5, it's literally barely below tier 0. They're still like insanely good. Like as you see Apex characters, they're all ranked under Apex characters still. Like they're still insane. But the tier 0 thing is the characters that are set above just the rest. As you see, Feixiao, she has a bunch of options as they listed. You can use Mo's or Marches instead of having Topaz. Instead of Aventurine, if you have Lingsha instead of Aventurine, you can do that, or you just use any other sustain like Gallagher as well. You have more options on those teams. I guess you could make the argument that Firefly doesn't really have team variety because you want the specific teams, but her team variety is practically very free to play anyways, so it's hard to make an argument on that. But when you look at the free to play or lower end side of Acheron as opposed to Feixiao, you can see the drop off. But the thing is, Acheron has 4 stars like Pela, who is practically her second best teammate at the moment. Jiaoqiu is obviously the best. And she, as they said, does not have the full team that Feixiao does. Feixiao has insanely good, dedicated follow-up attack characters. Topaz makes her hit so goddamn hard and also charges her so damn fast. Aventurine has a follow-up attack on his own and makes her team immortal with also having a follow-up attack to charge you more. And then Robin being one of the best supports in the game, and everything she buffs is a big increase to Feixiao, especially giving everyone another turn to get her more stacks. Feixiao already has the high ceiling, everything set in stone team that is the premium team, the premium follow-up attack team. Acheron, on the other hand, has a really good team, but only character really dedicated to her, as they said, is Jiaoqiu. Jiaoqiu has the vulnerability, he has the debuffs. The enemy's taking the turn and getting the debuff from the Acheron stacks and charging Acheron from that, and also having the ult vulnerability, which makes her hit that much harder compared to other debuffers. She actually does perform really well with Jiaoqiu and then her current team, because her current best team, if you have her say E2 or even at E0 technically, is her, Sparkle, Aventurine, and then Jiaoqiu. But Aventurine is not tailor-made towards her. He is tailor-made towards the follow-up attack teams. He just happens to have the debuffs that work really good with Acheron. Sparkle is just your generic hyper carry support, so she's not tailor-made towards Acheron or anything as well. Jiaoqiu, on the other hand, is the tailor-made towards Acheron, while Feixiao practically has every follow-up attack character be tailor-made towards her because they just perform in the way that she wants. If they have some form of debuff with a follow-up attack and just able to have high attack frequency thanks to the follow-up attacks, they are directly going to be one of her best teammates. Topaz, once again, having the insane debuffs, and then you have Mo's, who has the higher attack frequency potentially depending on the speed of your other teams, and also having the debuff as well. March having an insanely high attack frequency, and then the sustain Aventurine having a good attack frequency if you build them with speed, and then also having the follow-up attack, so against faster bosses like Hule, you can get the actual ult a lot more faster, and that charges Feixiao more. And then you have Robin, which is just the best support in the game, so I don't really have to really talk about that. Feixiao has a lot more going than Acheron does, so Acheron is still really powerful as they do have her at 0.5, but the thing is, if you look at the characters, there isn't really much tailor-made towards her. She still performs great if you have her E0 S1, and then you have stuff like Pela, go knife it, and then your sustain. On the lower end, she can still clear the MLCs, but compared to what Feixiao can do, I definitely do agree with this change. And then on top of that, the actual MLC is not made for her. It's mainly made for Feixiao, it's made for Firefly, mainly Firefly, it's mostly break oriented, and then can work really good with Boohill as well. It's mainly break oriented, but as what Feixiao can do with the weakest break efficiency and all that, it's still really good for her, especially with Hule being weak to wind as well. So another thing to look at is the current MLC. If this was like a prime Acheron MLC, then I'm sure she would still be in tier 0. But yeah, not looking at the fact that maybe people don't have the light cone, the team options aren't as good as Feixiao's, and all that stuff. And then we look at the other characters in tier 0.5 real quick. Ratio is the same thing I said about Feixiao, has all the teammates available to him, doesn't need the light cone, all that kind of stuff. Yunli is, I'm not even going to bother talking about this because most people just don't agree, but I think Yunli is one of the best DPS in the game. I think she definitely belongs on the same tier. Yunli is just insane, actual monster of a character. But yeah, as we see, the other characters in 0.5 definitely deserve to be here as well. And then again, with everything I mentioned about these two is that crazy part. And then the other thing, which I guess you could talk about this a bit more faster, is the change of Sparkle going down, Brony going up, and now them being in the same tier. So let's actually first go ahead and take a look at the reasoning behind these changes before I actually go ahead and give my opinion. As we see Sparkle down here, we see similar to Dawes, the Hyper Carry archetype struggles to compete with Break and Follow-Up attack in the current meta, mainly paired with Yunli and Acheron. Well, I don't know about Yunli, but she can be replaced, that's true. And outside of them, the other character is meta. Yeah, since it was practically just Danheng, so you can't really think of her as Apex material anymore and dropping her down to tier 1, okay. And then we look at Bronya. With the release of Feixiao, Bronya has added another solid spot in top teams to her portfolio, has been a top pick with Boot Hill, serves as a strong substitute. Well, you could say the same thing about Sparkle being kind of better in that case because of skill points and such, but not gonna use it anywhere if you don't have her yet, at least raised to tier 1. Okay, so my opinion on this is I definitely agree. The reason I agree is I still think you can still argue putting Sparkle up here just because everything she does, any DPS can benefit besides the break DPSs. Even follow-up attack characters can love this as well. But the thing is, as I mentioned, hyper carry is not that good right now. There has been only buffs to follow-up attack teams and then the break teams. Hyper carry has been left to rot for a long time. Sparkle was made for a skill point hungry DPS that was a hyper carry, naming Danheng, who was absolutely insane when the meta was around him. But obviously he's not as good as he used to be anymore. Sparkle was practically tailor-made towards him, and so she's still really good with the Acheron teams, as I mentioned. They mentioned Yunli, but I don't agree with that. She's not like that crazy with Yunli, to be honest. Does good damage, but you definitely have better options anyways, but they did say it's replaceable, so same thing there. And as for Bronya, so as they mentioned, you have the sub, and so there's another thing you can use with Feixiao, so another team you can add on. I think with Feixiao, Sparkle would be better thanks to the skill points, but that's just my opinion. But the fact that you can use it with Boot Hill and kind of on the break teams potentially future, because Sparkle gives crit damage and the skill points, which the skill points can up, but the crit damage you don't necessarily need. Boot Hill doesn't do that much damage on crit anyways. He can, but it's mainly still break damage, and Bronya gives the damage dealt. She also gives crit damage, but the full turn, and since Boot Hill is fast, it can be tricky tuning a Sparkle for Boot Hill as well. So the 50% action events can become a bit of an issue, while Bronya is always a turn, so you just tune her once properly and you always just get the turn after turn after turn after turn. And then the damage dealt increase is going to help do even more damage compared to the actual crit damage. So that's why I could definitely agree with them being on the same tier, but then again, you could sort of argue by going back up. I think that both of them can honestly go to 0.5 in my opinion. I think both of them are still really, really good despite not having the solid best in slot stuff. Like, again, Sparkle on any hyper carry team is going to be better than Bronya, maybe minus Jinglu, I'd have to say. But even there, I might be wrong as well. And then practically everywhere else is just Sparkle, and then the only other team that Bronya is better on, in my opinion, is when you're running the Blue Hill team. So you could definitely put them both at 0.5, I think, because they're both really, really damn good. When they came out, obviously Sparkle was just better on every team except maybe Jinglu Blade stuff, but Sparkle was better practically everywhere else. With Acheron, Sparkle was still better, all that kind of stuff. I still definitely think Sparkle is better in more teams. It's just the fact that hyper carry doesn't see much play. So if you're someone using a follow attack team and then break team, which is the most common playstyle right now, you have no reason to get Sparkle and no places to actually put her on a team. The only times is if you're running Acheron, preferably E2 and all that kind of stuff. So until hyper carry gets more stuff, Sparkle is probably going to be around this side anyways. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And then quickly talk about this, Jinglu going down, Blade going up, so this is insane. I never thought I'd see the day of this, but the reason I can kind of agree with this as well is Jinglu, she has obviously not performed too well. She's the hyper carry, stop and stuff, tailor made towards her, not anymore. On the current MSC especially, she isn't that great. They don't really have ice weakness, but Blade being the counter character as Hule attacks with lots of running on the second half makes him really good option. So he's actually able to somewhat cook on the second half now, so that's the only reason I think they're in the same tier. Once this is a different MOC, I definitely think it's probably going to be, she's going to be above him again, so that's probably what it's going to be. And then Dot, I also agree with, I'd maybe put Black Swan up just because you don't want to fully focus on the fact that Black Swan's a Dot character. She has the more debuff perks as well with the defense shred. So I definitely think Black Swan can go up to tier 1, but Kafka, maybe she is mainly a pure Dot. You don't really use her anywhere else. The Dot Kron stuff is just cringe to me, but I beg to differ. But yeah, so I can agree with this. Dot has been left to rot for ages, ever since the 2.0 update was the Black Swan introduction, and that since then has practically received no insanely significant dedicated things. No dedicated supports, no other dedicated debuffers or anything like that, unless you count Jiaoqiu E2, but that's pushing it. But yeah, you can definitely agree putting them down here, but again, I'd put Black Swan at least up to tier 1 because of her debuffing capabilities thanks to that defense shred. But yeah, and then I don't gotta talk about this too much. Zele going down here, it makes sense. Nothing's really tailor-made towards her. She doesn't do enough damage. She still can clear it, which is insane to me. This day 1 unit being able to all do that stuff. is just crazy. These characters going down makes sense. You don't ever really use these. I think Jade could go up, but that's a discussion for a different video. Finally, Yukong going down to tier 5, because who uses Yukong? I don't understand. When people tell me like, oh, you can use this for Yukong, you're not using Yukong regardless. I don't think there's any saving her. So I'm glad she's finally down here. And then the fire trailers are, I guess, because of the whole preservation trend stuff, I guess it's kind of dying out. But yeah, so that is the tier list. That is my sort of thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with this Acheron moving down, Sparkle going down, Brother going up, and being the same things? These are the main changes that people are absolutely fuming about. But as someone that wants to look at the brighter side and actually try to understand, it does somewhat make sense to me, so I can somewhat agree with these changes. But let me know what you guys think. Again, I'm sure not everyone is going to agree with me. Some people might think the direct opposite. So again, tier list is very, 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 very subjective, so don't take anything I said to your heart. It's just how I think it is. You might think differently, other people might think differently. It's just how it is. But yeah, let me know. Peace out.